You all can see the screen. Hare Krishna, can you see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, good. So you can hear me clearly, right?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
we can hear you. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Yeah, we will get started with some prayers and then we will do a recap so that I know others also will get the opportunity to join. I think right now we have only like 6 members joined so far. So anyway, no problem. So we'll start with some prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandegam Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadutam Parajana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I know the lighting is little not good here. I will try to change my, so I think it's all right, I think. So yeah, so welcome to our course Discover Yourself. So this is session 2, and last week in session 1, we covered a few interesting things. So this course, right, it's a 7-session course, right? The 7 topics are, the first topic was searching for happiness. And who is searching for happiness in this world? Everyone, right? There is no exception. All species of life is searching for happiness. But invariably what we get, even though we are all actively searching for happiness, invariably we all get misery. It is like buy one, get one free. So that's what we, discussed a little deeper last week. The second topic is, does God exist? What is the connection between the first topic and second topic? So it looks like in this world, there is a design flaw, right? If somebody had created this world with this kind of a flaw, that everybody invariably, even though they're seeking for happiness, but invariably they get misery, it looks like purposefully somebody had done it, or some kind of a mistake, or what. So if God exists, he is the one who might have created this world. If you know for sure that he exists, we can inquire from him why the world is the way it is. So for that, we need to know whether God really exists. So most of us may or may not believe in God for various reasons. But what we want to do is, we wanted to rationally, systematically, and scientifically understand whether God exists or not. So then we can move forward. If he exists, we can ask the question why the world is the way it is, right? So that is our topic today. And the third topic is, after understanding whether God exists or not, if he exists, who is he or she or it or what, right? Is God one or many? That is the third topic. And then after understanding who God is, then we need to also understand who I am. So in relation to God, who we are, our own identity. And then the fifth topic is very interesting topic. Why do bad things happen to good people or vice versa? Because ultimately that's the culminating question we all have in this world. I am always intending to do the right thing. Why do bad things happen to me? or sometimes we see that people are purposefully doing bad things, and how good things are happening to them, right? So sometimes bad people, good things happens to them. Why? This is the $1,000,000 question. So this first 5 topics are really actually understanding the problem we are facing in this world. They say that if you can define the problem well enough, you almost got 50% of the solution. Sometimes somebody is doing PhD, first couple of years, right? Just they're trying to define what the problem they're trying to research. Sometimes the actual solution to the research might be done in a year, but defining the problem itself takes longer time. So that is why the first 5 sessions are dedicated to understand the problem from different perspective. After defining the problem well enough, the 6th topic is the solution, right? Spiritual solution to the material problems, the yoga system as described by Bhagavad Gita, right? How to solve our material problems using spiritual solution. So that is the 6th topic. And then final topic is practical application. After understanding all these things, if you don't put it in practice, it is like buying the ticket and forgetting to board the plane. So it is very important that we understand these problems and solutions, and then we also should put into practice. So the practical application is the final session. So this is the overview of the course. I'm just doing this recap so that if anybody is new who have not attended the previous session, so they will be able to catch up with what we covered last week. So as I mentioned before, this is based on the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as Hare Krishna Movement. So last week, right, and the topic 1, searching for happiness, right? These are the few things we covered. The first thing we covered is there are 4 things common to all species of life, right? In general, right, all species of life can be categorized into 2 broad categories: humans and non-humans, or humans and animals. When say animals means it includes, plants and other species of life. There are 4 things common to all species of life. Can any of you remember what they are? The acronym is SEED. You can unmute and probably can speak.
Prabhuji, life, death, old age, and diseases.
Okay, so that is the problem, the real problems of life, right? Birth, death, old age, and disease. But before that, we saw there are 4 things common to all species of life. The 4 things they do. I will try to give the Sanskrit. Yes,
sleep.
Yes,
Yeah, sleep, eat,
enjoy, and defend.
Yes.
Correct. Very good. Thank you, Prabhuji. So the shloka we saw, that is Aghara Nidra Bayamaitanam cha Shamanya Metat Pashubir Naranam. Ahara is eating, Nidra is sleeping, Bayam means out of fear we defending, Maitanam means producing offsprings. Ahara Nidra Bayamaitanam cha Samanya Metat Pashubir Naranam. Nara means human beings, Pashu means animals, Samanya means equal. These things, 4 things are the one which is common to human species and animals. Now, what differentiate animals from human beings or humans from animals? We saw that A, B, C, D, right? The sloka says, Dharmehi tesham adhike vishesho, Dharmehi hina pashubir shamanam. Dharmehi tesha adhike vishesho means the ability to inquire what is dharma, the ability to discriminate between right and wrong, the ability to respond instead of reacting, right, is the one which differentiates human beings from other species of life. If you don't use that faculty, of discriminating between right and wrong, good and bad, happiness and suffering, if you don't make higher inquiry of what dharma is, then we are not nothing, we are not different than animals. We might be doing sophisticated eating, mating, sleeping, defending. Then we can be only called sophisticated animal, right? If you do not inquire what dharma is, dharme hitesham adhige vishesho, dharme hihina pashubir shamanam. If you do not inquire what dharma is, we are pashubir shamana. Dharme hihina pashubir shamanam. So the four differences we saw: this ability to respond instead of reacting, or ability to discriminate. B is seeking higher bliss. C is, we have the choice, right, to make, as I said, instead of reacting, we can respond. We can make the right choices. And then D stands for determination. To do the above three, right, we need determination. So these four things are the one which differentiate human beings from other species of life. And then we saw that real problems. Real problem means it has to meet three criteria. Any of you remember what are the three criteria? In order for any problem to be a real problem, it has to meet three conditions or criteria.
I think it's common to all. Everybody has it, and nobody wants it.
And third one?
Nobody wants it.
Second one, that is common to all, and then
Everybody gets
it. And then what is the third condition?
Nobody wants it.
No, that is the second condition. Nobody wants it, the second condition. First is it is common to all. Second is nobody wants it. Third is nobody can avoid it. Even though nobody wants it, invariably everybody gets it. Right? So if any problem meets these three criteria, then it can be called as real problem. We are not saying that other things are not problems. Other things are relative or temporary problems. If any problem meets these three criteria, it can be called as real problem. All other problems can be categorized only as a relative or temporary problem. So what are the things we saw? There are four things fits this criteria. What are the four things which fits this criteria of real problem?
Birth, death, and old age and disease, Prabhuji.
Yes, birth, death, old age, and disease, right? We gave the acronym body. Birth, old age, disease, and Yamaraj. We call death as Yamaraj, body. Right? It is mentioned, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Doshana, Darshanam. Janma, birth, Mrityu, death, Jara, old age, Vyadi, disease. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. Dukkha, Dukkha means suffering. Dosha means problem or fault. Anudarshanam means situated in knowledge. A person who understands birth, death, old age, and disease are the real problems which cause suffering in this world. He is situated in knowledge. So Krishna tells this in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that what are the different items of knowledge. One of the items of knowledge is this. A person who understands birth, death, old age, and disease are the real cause of suffering in this world. And when he understands this, he is situated in knowledge. On top of this four problems, we all have to experience three categories of miseries. AA, AB, and AD. Any of you remember what they are? Miseries caused by one's own body and mind. Adya Atmika Klesha. Klesha means suffering or misery. Adya Atmika means self. In this case, body and mind is considered to be the self. Misery is caused by one's own body and mind. Adhyatmika Klesha. The second is Adi Baudhika Klesha. Misery is caused by other living entities. Right? So that is the example is like, right, sometimes mosquitoes, bugs, viruses, bacteria, right, managers, parents, children, in-laws, right, whoever it might be. Other living entities are always causing suffering to another living entity. Adi Baudhika Klesha. The third category of misery is Adi Daivika Klesha. Adi Daivika Klesha means miseries caused by natural calamities. Like earthquake, tsunami, forest fire, extreme heat waves, extreme cold, right? Thunderstorm, right? Like that, different natural calamities. When the natural calamities happens, right? Even though as much as we think that we are very powerful human beings, when simple one hurricane comes, right? We all have to stand there, simply watch helplessly, right? So nature is very powerful. When when nature reacts or when calamity comes from nature, simply we have to go through it or witness it. So these are 3 categories of miseries on top of the 4 problems we all have to go through. Now, the purpose of human life is to find out real solution to these problems, right? Animals and birds and others are also trying to solve everyday problem. Their problem is simply how to facilitate eating, mating, sleeping, defending. That is the one thing they are trying to solve. Whereas human beings can rise above the eating, mating, sleeping, defending, and then ask this question of what real problems in this world, how to solve it. So the modern civilization is trying to solve this birth, death, old age, and disease. How? 3 categories of solutions we saw. One is sense enjoyment, right? The modern civilization says, don't worry about birth, death, old age, and disease. Enjoy your senses to the fullest. Anyway, these problems are going to happen. You just live life big size. Don't worry. Do what you like, right? Don't waste your time in trying to solve these problems, right? The second category is some type of a speculative processes, right? Self-help, right? And then different things, processes. You do this yoga, that yoga, or some kind of a be positive, think positive. I am okay, you are okay, right? All this kind of different self-help processes, speculative processes. We try to keep happy ourselves in this world. And the third category is superficial religion, right? Yantra, mantra, some astrology, right? Some kind of a ritualistic process we do, to keep us happy. We are not saying that they don't help. All these things, what we do, what we said, all of them, they are all trying to give some relief from the suffering, but they do not go to the root cause and solve the problem. So hence, right, simply trying to go through the modern civilization, which offers this various remedies for the real problems in a superficial way, is like treating the symptom instead of going to the root cause. Any solution, right, problem, for any problem, the solution can be either, symptomatic solution. In the medical world, they say, right, when you have a fever, you can just simply give fever reducer medicine to reduce the fever. But actually, to understand why you are getting fever, you need to understand the root cause. That is called pathological solution. Going to the root cause and solving the root cause problem, right? So we don't want to just simply solve the symptoms, but we need to go to the root cause and solve the problem at the root, so then we can get permanent solution. Finally, we saw we are all searching for the right thing. What is the right thing? We are all searching for happiness, right? But we are all searching in the wrong place, right? This material world is dukkhalaya ashashvatam. We are all searching for things. We are all searching for happiness with various things in this material world, which are all temporary and always causing misery. So now finally we concluded that as we saw that any problem we need to solve, we need to go to the root cause. Why this world exists with this birth, death, old age, and disease? Why is this world created with this birth, death, old age, and disease? Why invariably suffering comes, right? Is there a design flaw? Did somebody create this world? If somebody created, we can ask him, why did he create this world this way, right? That is leading us to the second topic. Does God really exist? A modern, scientific, rational thinking human being, can he believe in the existence of God? Is there any proof for the existence of God? Right? That is our topic today. right? Does God really exist? So the 21st modern century, right? 21st century is a world where, right, phones are cordless, cars are keyless, right? Communication is wireless, cooking is fireless, and food is fatless, sweets are sugarless, and arguments are generally baseless, feelings are heartless, and relationships are meaningless, and politics is shameless, education is worthless, and youths are jobless, and salaries are less and less, and needs are endless, and life in the end of all these things almost looks like hopeless. And then human society, the direction in which it's going, it is clueless, right? We are all trying to make advancement, but invariably more and more newer problems we are facing. It looks like the human society does not have much clue in the direction which we are heading, right? The root cause for all this is the society is godless. Because the society is godless, right? There is no direction. There is no, GPS to navigate us of the problems, navigate out of these problems. So that is because the society is more and more becoming godless. So that is the cause for our increased problem. Now, when you say godless, you might ask the question, does God really exist, right? So why we have to understand whether God exists scientifically and rationally, right? Why is it necessary? Because human life is meant to solve the real problems of life, right? To solve any problem, we need to go to its root. Like when you go to a doctor, right? Right? Doctor should not just treat the symptoms. We expect a doctor to go to the root cause. If I have fever, the doctor should understand why we are getting the fever. What is the cause of that fever? It might be due to infection, or if I'm having headache, the headache could be due to migraine. It might be due to cancer in the brain, or it could be simply dehydration, right? It could be any reason you might get headache. The doctor who should not just simply prescribe pills. You take this painkiller, your headache will go away, right? He is not a good doctor. A good doctor will go to the root cause and identify and try to solve the root cause. Similarly, right, if there is a problem in a building, right, if there's a leak in the building, we don't try to go and break every wall to find out where the leak is, right? We will try to get the blueprint of the building or contact the architect, right, who built this building. Once we have the blueprint, we can understand what could be the possibility for the leak, right? So similarly, the problems we are trying to solve, birth, death, old age, and disease, if we wanted to solve this problem at its root cause, we need to understand what is the root cause of all this problem, right? Is there someone behind all these things? Can any of us say with certainty whether God does or does not exist? In general, our faith, either in the existence of God or not in the existence of God, is all circumstantial. It is not based on rational thinking arguments, right? So one time there was a sadhu living near a village in the forest, in the ashram, and the villagers heard about this sadhu, and then they wanted to invite the sadhu to their village, and they wanted to hear some spiritual discourse from the sadhu. So finally, the head of the village went to the sadhu and requested him on behalf of the villagers, please come to our village and please guide us, give us some spiritual instructions or discourse. So they made a nice arrangement. The sadhu came and sat on the stage, and then he started speaking. He asked the question, how many of you believe in the existence of God? Then everybody raised their hands, almost everybody. And then the sadhu saw that almost everybody raised their hand. They all said that they all believe in the existence of God. He said, you already all believe in the existence of God, so hence I don't have much to speak. So there is not for me to speak anything here. And then he left. The villagers were very disappointed. they really wanted to hear from the sadhu. Again, the head of the village went to the sadhu. He requested him to come. Again, the sadhu sat in front of all the villagers. Again, he asked the same question. How many of you believe in the existence of God? Now, this time, none of the villagers raised hand. Then sadhu said, oh, none of you believe in the existence of God? Why am I wasting my time here? Because if I stay here and continue to speak, I might also become atheist like all of you. So I don't have anything to speak here. He leaves. Now, after the second time, the villagers really got disappointed. They really wanted to hear from the sadhu. Again, the head of the village went to the sadhu and then requested the sadhu to come again to the village and speak. This time again, sadhu asked the same question. How many of you believe in the existence of God? This time the villagers were very intelligent. They thought through. All the people sitting in the right hand side, they raised their hand. And then all the people in the left, sitting in the left hand side, did not raise their hand. Then the sadhu saw that, oh, half of you believe in the existence of God and half of you don't believe in the existence of God. Why don't all the people believe in the existence of God convince the people who don't believe in the existence of God? And I don't have anything to do here. And he left. Like this in the story, in this, what the essential point we're trying to get out of the story is, our faith is like the faith of villagers, right? What they had faith in God is like pliable faith, circumstantial. Based on the circumstances, sometimes they are saying that they believe in the existence of God. Sometimes they believe that there is no God, right? Like that, our faith in God is also pliable one. Based on the circumstance, we change ourselves, right? Another example is one of my friend, right? So when he was in college, the final year, right? So usually the companies come for campus interview. So my friend's friend, right, is a very intelligent person, but he never believed in the existence of God. And all of a sudden, this person who did not believe in the existence of God came running to the hostel, saying that, do you have some kumkum or some kind of a tilak? And then everybody asked, oh, you don't believe in the existence of God. Why do you need all these things? That boy said, I know I don't believe in the existence of God. I saw the crew members who came for campus interview today from this company. The head of the interviewing committee, actually he had a big, tilak in his forehead. So it looks like he is a believer in God. If I also put a tilak and go to the interview, right, I might get a favorable outcome or I might impress that person. How this person, even though he did not believe in the existence of God, for the circumstance, right, he just wanted to portray himself as a believer of God. Or sometimes people who really believe in God also portray themselves, right, that they don't believe in God, depending on the circumstance, right? So another example is one of my friend again, right, when they were in college, right, this is in 1993-4, at the time, right, this Babur Masjid issue happened in India, in Ayodhya. Babur Masjid demolition happened. And then there was so much of riot all over India. And these boys in the college, they all got disgusted with all the communal violences. And they all thought, because of organized religion, so much of, fighting happens. Most of the problems in this world are all because of this religion. So hence we don't want to believe in the existence of God. So like that, right, they all made a vow themselves that they are not going to believe in the existence of God. Later, this person became a medical doctor, one of the persons, and then he built a huge hospital, and then he invited my friend for the opening of the hospital. Meanwhile, my friend, right, after college, he had become a spiritual person, he became a sadhu. So he called his friend called him also for this hospital opening. When he went to the hospital, right, so there was one puja going on, Graha Pravesh ceremony with, various rituals and everything going on. So this friend went and asked him, Hey, in the college days, you said that you are never going to believe in God. You took a vow. So at that time, the doctor said, yes, I don't believe in the existence of God, even now, but I spent, 1 crore rupees to build this hospital, right? Just in case, if God exists, I don't want to take a chance. Even though I don't believe in the existence of God, just in case, what if he exists? I don't want, to make a mistake and lose this 1 crore investment. This puja cost maybe 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees. If God exists, let also him be satisfied. Why to take the risk? Right? So why to take chance? Even though I don't believe in the existence of God, just in case we exist, right? Let me put that security deposit, right? By doing this, 2,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees puja, I might save my 1 crore property. Like that, most of us, faith in God is like circumstantial, right? Based on our self-interest, we change this way or that way. But we don't want to be like that, right? If you ask anybody, how many of you believe in God, right? If there's a group of people, always bunch of people will raise their hand that we believe in God, and some people, right, will say that I don't believe in God. Both of them will have their own reasons. But if you start questioning them, right, they will not have much answers, right? Some people say that in God we trust, and then some people say that don't believe in God, join our club, right? There is no God. God is a, God is a delusion. There is one author. He has written a book called God Delusion. God does not exist. It's a delusional concept of human beings. Like that, some people propagate. So always there are theories, this way or that way. Now, how can we come out of this, this dilemma? How can we believe really in the existence of God or don't believe in the existence of God based on rational scientific arguments? That's what we are going to do in this session. So in general, our understanding, God means it is faith-based. Science means it is reason-based, right? God means you can't really prove the existence of God. You just have to trust it. If you ask why, they say, I don't know, but I think something is there, out there, right? Some faith. Most of the time, the scientists say that this faith is all blind. There is no rationality behind that faith. Faith means simply, believing in something. You may or may not have any proof or data. Whereas science means completely it is reason-based. Meaning, to understand what science is, right, we need to understand the scientific process works. Science works based on 3 steps, right? First is observation. We analyze the nature around us. We observe, right? After the observation, right, we come up with theory, right? Maybe it is like that. Maybe it is like this, right? We observe the nature, and then I see a crow. A crow happened to be in black in color. I see another crow, right? That is also black in color. After seeing few crows, I can come up with a theory. Maybe all crows are black in color, right? It's an hypothesis, right? This is a theory, but we don't have evidence. So to prove or disprove the theory, we need to systematically collect data. That's the 3rd step, right? Collecting experimental data. And then after conducting experiment and collecting the data, see whether that data corroborates with our hypothesis. If the data corroborates our hypothesis, we take that hypothesis to be true. We take that as fact or knowledge. If the experimental data does not corroborate with our hypothesis, we reject that hypothesis as invalid, right? That is like not a valid theory. So this is how science works. First is observation, and then coming up with hypotheses or theories. 3rd is conducting experiments and collecting data to either prove or disprove the hypothesis. So this is the way science works. So hence, this is all logic based, right? So hence there is always a tussle between science and religion, right? Religion means it is faith-based, God means it is faith-based, science is reason-based or data-driven. Hence, there is always a argument between believers in God and non-believers in God. So hence the God is always put on trial, right? So the proof for the existence of God, right? It should be scientifically, logically, and systematically be determined. Either in the existence or not existence, it should be science-based. It should not be, based on, whimsical things. Why do we need to establish scientifically and logically? Until we are really convinced, scientifically, logically, and systematically, this belief is not going to stay long. If we all believe that existence of God, if it's not based on sound logic and science, somebody can come and, argue and defeat us. Or people who don't believe in God, right? So somebody else who is a good argumentator can come and give arguments to make that person convinced. But either way, it should be based on systematic logic and science. Otherwise, under pressure, right, we will fall apart. As science is evidence-based, we need to also understand, right, whether God's existence can be based on evidence, right? So hence God is put on trial. So in order to solve this trial, we are going to, collect some data, right? So generally in a trial, right, there is prosecution side and defense side. Prosecution builds argument against a particular person or a particular entity, saying that why this person had done so and so, why that is, not right. So the defense side, they will build arguments saying that why they did not commit this crime or what is the data or evidence they give. So usually the prosecution and defense, they present arguments and counter arguments, and this is presented in front of a jury. And then in the end, the jury makes a trial. Jury concludes the trial. Jury comes up with a verdict, whether guilty or not guilty. So based on that, the judge who oversees the trial, if the jury gives guilty or not guilty verdict, then judge either gives the punishment if the jury found that particular person to be guilty, or if the jury says that is not guilty, then judge acquits the person who are accused. Right? This is how trial works. Similarly, we are going to collect evidences, right, to see whether we can conclude systematically and logically and scientifically in the existence of God. First, right, is proof for the existence of God. So there are few categories of proofs we are going to see. The first category is, right, creation implies creator. So what does it mean? In this screen, you see the picture of a telephone. Can you name who invented the telephone?
Graham Bell.
Right? Alexander Graham Bell. Thank you. And then can you name the inventor of steam engine? James Watt, right? Then can you name the inventor of the telescope?
Galileo Galilei.
Galileo. Very good. Right? Can you name the inventor of light bulb?
Edison.
Edison, Thomas Alva Edison. Very good. Right? So behind all this inventions, we always know that there is an inventor. If you say that steam engine came automatically on its own, right? Will you believe it? No. If you say that telephone came into existence automatically, will immediately say refute? No. Behind this invention, there is an inventor. Behind every things, there is a creator, right? For everything, there is always a creator. Now, can you name the inventor of our planetary systems or the creator of the planetary systems? We immediately say for all the things, whatever small things we earlier saw, there is always an inventor or a creator. But when it comes to nature, we immediately say, no, there is no creator behind. They all came into existence automatically. Even a small thing, right? Like a watch. If we say that this watch came automatically, we will say, no, it is not possible. There is a creator behind it, right? There is an inventor behind it. But when it comes to nature, which has lot more sophistication than ordinary things we create in this world or invented this world, we simply say there is no inventor, right? Why so much confusion about creator and creation, right? Especially in America, right? The school system, right? There is always an argument whether to include the theory of creation in the curriculum or not. And finally, it went to the Supreme Court, and then it was thrown out that, oh, this is not, the creation theory is not science-based. It cannot be kept in the school. But of course, there is so much of, counter argument. There are rational thinking scientists who have, come up with systematic theories, right? That there has to be a creator behind all this creation, right? Common scenario in classroom today is, right, that does God exist? No. How came the world came into existence? Because of a massive explosion, Big Bang theory, right? In the beginning, there was infinitesimal compressed energy, almost of, zero volume, but infinite mass, and that exploded. From that Big Bang came, right, the energy, time factor, all of them. And then from that, things started manifesting. And then stars and galaxies started forming. And then because of this explosion, everything started expanding. And then, right, from this explosion came, different stars, and then different stars formed their own planetary systems. And in our planet, in our solar system, right, Earth formed. And somehow or the other, in the beginning, there was a primordial soup of matter, and then some lightning struck that primordial soup, and then life, single cell organism started. And then from that single cell organism, through every process of evolution, more and more complex organism came. This is the argument, or this is the scientific understanding taught in school today. Everything came out of a big, massive explosion, right? Now, let's say I'm going to start a company. And this company's name is called Little Bang Construction Company. What is that company? Idea behind this company and this startup, the idea behind the startup is that constructing buildings construction is an expensive process, right? We need raw materials, we need various parts, we need to bring all these materials together. And then biggest part of construction is labor. If you take any construction, generally, in principle, labor is more than 50% of the actual material. So my idea behind my startup company, Little Bang Construction Company, is bring all the ingredients together, right? Whatever is required to build a building, the sand, the cement, the concrete, the steel, right? The plastics, metals, bring all of them, put in a big container, and I have a special formula. What is that formula? I put all of them in the container, and then I have a small dynamite. I put this dynamite in this big container, which contains all the ingredients. I ignite this container in a particular way, and the dynamite in a particular way, and there will be a small explosion within that container. By this explosion, automatically the buildings are going to come up without any labor, without any manpower. This is the idea behind my startup company. I am going to save more than 50% of cost in construction by simply coming up with a special, explosive. What this explosive is going to do is, by conducting this controlled explosion within this container, by keeping all the ingredients of building, a building is going to manifest. This is the idea behind my startup. Now, how many of you would like to invest in such a startup? Nobody person with sane knowledge will put even a penny in that company. We all know that by explosion, right? There is no organized buildings will come out. Explosion causes commotion only. There won't be any organized things coming out of that explosion. After all, to build a building, when I say that I can come up with a formula to construct this explosive so that it can create a building, it is not possible. But how come nature, which has a lot more sophisticated, complicated things, came from an explosion? We believe in it. We don't want to believe in this little bang construction company, but we want to believe in Big Bang theory, right? We don't want to believe in the existence of a creator. We want to attribute everything to random chance. See, a day in Newton's life. To understand this further, Sir Isaac Newton, right? One time he built a nice model of solar system, right? There was sun in the middle, and then different planets around it, right? And then around Earth there is moon. So, and then there was a small handle. When you rotate that handle, the entire planets in the solar system, they will all move around the sun, and then moon will move around the Earth. Like that, he built a nice mechanical model. Just by rotating that handle, right, it will nicely, depict the solar system. So one time, one of his friend, who is a strong atheist, came to visit Newton. So when this person came, right, and then Newton asked him to just ask him, I'm inside, actually I'm preparing something. So why don't you, sit in the living room? I'll come and attend you in a few minutes. The door is open, please come in. So this person friend who came in, and he saw the model in the living room, right? And he rotated the handle. It was nicely moving. So he really was impressed. At that time, that friend, the atheist scientist, he told Newton, Mr. Newton, this solar model which you built, the solar model you have in the living room is very nice. It's very amazing. It nicely depicts the solar model. Who built this? Did you build it? Then Newton immediately responded, no, I didn't build it. One day I woke up, it was there in my living room. It came on its own. So his scientist friend got bewildered. He said, Mr. Newton, you might be joking. Please stop pulling my leg. Tell me who built it. Did any of your research students build this? Who built it? It's very nice. I would also like to have one. And then Newton came out. Said, no, I didn't build it. It came on its own. And then immediately the scientist friend, he became very serious. Mr. Newton, please stop joking. We all know that this model cannot come on its own. Somebody put together. Who put together? At that time, Isaac Newton said, my dear friend, this is just a model of the solar system. When I say that it came on its own, you don't want to believe it. Whereas you want to believe the real thing, the real solar system, which is lot more complicated, lot more precise and profound. You say that it came on its own. You want to believe that the actual solar system came on its own, but you don't want to believe which is this model, which is just a representation of the original. You don't want to believe that this came on its own. Whereas you want to believe the real thing came on its own accidentally. You want to attribute everything to a chance, right? So that's what Newton said. In fact, Newton said, right, it did not come by chance. No chance, right? The creation can come by chance. He said this most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent, powerful being, right? This being governs the things not as the soul of the world, but as the Lord over all, and he, on account of his dominion, he is to be called Lord God, the universal ruler. So Isaac Newton, right, he is a theistic scientist. By understanding through science the nature, we can come closer to God. That's what he believed in. He is not an atheistic scientist. He's a theistic scientist. By understanding the nature, by discovering various laws in the nature, we all can come closer to God, understand God better. That's what Newton believed in, right? The second argument is law implies a lawmaker, right? So when we see a traffic light, right, we all know, right? Green means go, amber means, proceed with caution, red means stop, right? This law of this traffic laws, the signals and various laws in a particular city, right? Behind all this law, we all know that whenever we see a traffic light system, we should know that behind this, the way in which the traffic light is working, there is a lawmaker behind all these laws. Green means proceed, amber means proceed with caution, red means stop. Who created? Some lawmaker made this law. And then this lawmaker, based on this law, this traffic system is implemented, and all through various engineers and others put together this thing. Behind all these things, there is a lawmaker, right? If we see any traffic system with various speed limits and traffic signals, right? All these rules and laws, behind this, there are lawmakers, right? Whereas when we see, right, in the planetary systems, all the planets are going on in a particular order, particular speed, without any commotion, without any traffic jam, right? If there is no traffic signal, immediately we will see, if due to breakage of electricity in a particular one signal, right? Immediately there will be a traffic jam. Immediately cops of the city will come, try to, control the traffic or make this traffic move forward to reduce the traffic jam. Whereas in nature, we see so many planets, so many stars are all going around without any collision, without any traffic jam, right? We want to say that this natural laws of planets, they all came by chance. There is no lawmaker behind it. Whereas simple traffic laws of our cities, we will never agree that it came on its own. There is a lawmaker behind it, we accept. Whereas lot more complicated traffic system in nature is there. For that, we want to attribute there is no lawmaker behind it, right? If we see a baby, immediately we know that baby came from a mother with the help of a father, right? Babies come from human beings, not from apple tree, or apples only come from apple tree, not from the womb of a mother, right? In nature, we see so many laws. Apples come from apple tree, right? Tomatoes come from tomato plant. Babies come from human beings or mother. Like that, there is a law. Nothing happens by random. If you analyze nature, For everything, there is a law, right? The laws of mechanics, the laws of physical optics, the laws of thermodynamics, the laws of the micro world, the laws of the macro world. Everything in this world is operating by precise law, right? If you analyze the nature closely, we will understand that everything is functioning precisely by certain laws. So precise laws of mathematical accuracy governs this world. Isn't there a lawmaker? Isn't there a law that governs all these things? Did it all come by chance? Right? Even a simple traffic system, right? When we see that there is a lawmaker behind it. But in nature, there are so many organized, sophisticated laws are there. We say that they all came by chance without any lawmaker, right? Law of gravity, four laws of thermodynamics, right? Laws of planetary motions, Newton's law of motion, conservation laws, Boyle's law of gases. For all these things, right? The scientists, they didn't create these laws. They just discovered from nature. All these laws, various scientists did not create. These laws already existed before even the scientists discovered. The scientists only discovered its existence. They did not invent it. They did not create it. So in nature, all these laws exist. So whenever there is a law, there should be a lawmaker behind it. In nature, there is all these laws exist. Scientists are only discovering these laws. So there is no lawmaker behind all these laws. Is it reasonable to believe that there is no lawmaker behind all these laws? So Albert Einstein said, there is a perfect brain behind all the natural physical laws, right? Law implies lawmaker, right? Without lawmaker, no law comes into existence. The third category of arguments is order and design, right? So if we see a light bulb, we know that there is a designer behind this light bulb, right? This light takes energy, and that energy is coming from through electricity, and electricity is created, right, through some means, either through a hydroelectric plant or a thermal plant or a wind electric plant. Somewhere this energy is produced, electrical energy is produced, and that energy is delivered through organization and design to our house, and then that energy connection, electric connection which comes to our house, gets distributed throughout the house, and the bulb, when it's collected to the electric energy, it gives light. So whenever we see a light bulb, we know that behind this light bulb, there is order and design. It is designed to function in this way, right? There is an organization and order exists behind all these things, behind this light bulb. Whereas when we see nature, right, sun gives light for the entire solar system, right? But when we say simple light bulb, we say that there is order and design. Behind this design, there are designers. But when we see sunlight, which gives light to the entire solar system, right? We say that there is no designer. There is no order behind it. It's all random, right? When we see a water tank on top of a house, right? Overhead water tank, we know that behind this water tank, there is designer and order behind it, right? There is a bore well. From that, you pump the water through a pump over to overhead to the top of the building. Or that water tank is connected to the city water system, right? And that city water system is, when the water comes, it's pumped all the way to the top. Behind this water tank on top of the house, we know that there is so much of order and design. Behind this water tank, there is a designer. To simply carry 200 gallons of water or 500 gallons of water, right? We know that there's so much of work, so much of engineers, so much of mechanics, so much of people are involved to get the water on top of the building. There is so much of order and design exists. But when we see in nature, cloud carries so much of water, not just gallons, thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons. But this water tank of cloud is lot more sophisticated. It's transparent. Airplanes can go through. It can carry, billions and trillions of gallons of water. It can extract this water from, from the air, from the ocean with the help of sunlight. It evaporates and then it goes up to the cloud, right? And then the cloud carries this, water and then pours in different places. Because of this water pouring in different places, right? We see so much of, vegetation and so much of nature developing. So there is so much of, to get water of 500 gallons or 1000 gallons on top of building, we accept that is order and design required. Whereas this lot more sophisticated pump, which takes the water from the ocean, right? The salt water, which gets evaporated, comes into the cloud and carried forward to different places and distributed throughout the planet. We all say that there is no order and design. This is all random, right? When we see a bottle of, fruit drink, in India, there is a famous thing, slice, right? Mango drink. When we see that mango drink, right? We know that behind that mango drink, there is so much of organization and design. Somebody had grown some mango plants, brought the mangoes, removed the skin and extracted the mango pulp. From that mango pulp, they created this mango drink. Behind this one glass of mango drink, there is so much of order and design. Organization is involved. But when we see a real mango, we say it came by chance, it came by accident. There is no designer behind it. Right? When you see a giraffe, right? It has the longest neck of all the species of life on our planet, right? Because the neck is so long, in order to pump the blood to its brain, right? It has a very, very huge heart. It weighs 11 kgs and then 2 feet long. That big of a pump is required to pump the blood all the way to the head of the giraffe. And because it has to pump so much height, there is a one-way check valve is built in the neck, so that no too much of pressure is built at the lower stage. So whatever the blood is pumped, it goes all the way to the brain. It doesn't return back. If there is no one-way check valve, too much of pressure will be built. When such a giraffe, right, who has such a tall neck, so much of pressure is required to pump the blood all the way to the brain. When such a giraffe brings the head down, try to graze something on the ground, right? All this blood will be gushing through towards the brain. It will build so much of pressure, and because of all that pressure, its brain should explode. But to stop it, there is a spongy tissue in the head of giraffe. When the giraffe, brings the head down to observe all this blood gushing through the brain, right? There is a spongy tissue available to reduce the pressure, right? In the picture, you see this bird. This bird is called ruby-throated hummingbird, right? It has this, red color. Hence, it is called ruby-throated hummingbird. It's a very, very interesting species. It travels every year across the Gulf of Mexico, from America to Mexico during the winter time. It travels 800 kilometers non-stop in 20 hours, right? It flaps its wing 50 times per second. Total 6 million wing beats through its throat's journey. 800 kilometers of journey in 20 hours, it makes 6 million wing beats, right? Its heart beats 1,220 times per minute, right? It just weighs 3 grams, less than a nickel. You ask any scientist to create a flying object which will weigh only 3 grams, and it should fly for 800 kilometers in 20 hours, non-stop. They will say that thermodynamically, aerodynamically, it is impossible to create such an object, right? In fact, this ruby-throated hummingbird, right? Throughout the summer, it eats, right? It eats and eats and eats. It accumulates fat. How much? It doubled the size of the body weight. It accumulates fat. The 3 grams of ruby-throated hummingbird during the summer, when it eats, it gains the weight of 6 grams. With the 3 grams of fuel, it's going to fly 800 kilometers non-stop in 20 hours. If we ask any scientists, any rocket engineers to design a flying object which will weigh only 3 grams, it should take only 3 grams of fuel, and it should go for 800 kilometers in 20 hours. They will say it is impossible. Whereas in nature, it exists. And we say that this all came by chance, right? Without any designer, without any order, right? Look at this camel, right? Camel can go on for days without water. Without water, it can go on for 8 days in the desert, right? Can drink 130 liters at one time. When water is available, you can drink 130 liters of water at one time, right? It has transparent eyelids. Why? When it is going through the desert, when there is a desert storm, right? The sand can come and hit the ice. Hence, it has a transparent lid. Even during a desert storm, it can see and still move forward, right? And then it has very long legs. Why? During that heat from the sand should not, hit the body of the camel. Hence, there is so much of height. It has a very long legs to stay away from the heat. Otherwise, it will get dehydrated. All the water it accumulates will get lost. To stay away from the heat of the hot sand, it has very long legs. So we say that, that this camel came by chance, came by accidents, right? We see in this picture, right? A lady who has longest, eyelashes. So when we see this, right, we don't believe it, right? This look like a Photoshop. We all have hair in our head, keeps growing. The same hair in the eyelash does not grow. Oh, we say this is because of particular gene. This particular gene present makes the hair grow in the head, whereas this particular gene which turns off the growth factor of the hair and the eyelash, right? Who makes the decision? Who turns on, turns off this gene? Who is the designer behind it? Ask the question, right? When we eat food, when we bring the food, just by smelling, saliva begins. When we eat that food, that saliva gets mixed, the food goes to the stomach, it gets nourished. So the food we eat, there is so much of science behind. There is so much of order and design behind our digestive system. We say that all this thing came by chance. When we see an aeroplane, we know that there is a designer. But when we see an high-soaring eagle, we say that there is no designer. When we see a submarine, we know that there is a designer behind the submarine. But behind, dolphins and sharks, which is a lot more efficient, lot more navigation system they have than a submarine, we say that there is no designer, right? When we see a painting of a flower, right? This painting of a flower has only 2 dimension of features, shades of color, that's it. Actually, only 1 dimension of feature, right? Shades of color. Whereas a real flower has many dimensions of features, right? Not only shades of color, it has fragrance, it has pollens, it attracts bees, it has nectar in it to attract the bees. And the bees, while drinking nectar, it carries the pollen from one flower to another flower for pollination so that the flower can propagate itself. If you take just one rose flower, there is so many features are there. Smell is there, right? Colors is there, shape is there, and pollens for pollination is there. There are so many features are there. But when we see a simple painting which has only one dimension of feature, which is shade of a color, we say that it came by a designer, a painter painted this. Whereas in nature, this flower has many dimensions of features. We say that there is no designer, right? If you see a city system, if you see a city, well-functioning city, there are so many departments are there in the city to make that city work, right? There is energy department, transportation department, right? And sewage department, right? So many departments are there to make a city function. If you take one single cell in our body, it has a lot more complicated systems than a well-organized city, right? But we say that for the city, there is a designer. For the single cell, there is no designer. Design implies designer. Nothing comes by chance. Whenever we see something organized, whenever we see something functioning systematically, we should know that behind that order and design, there is a designer, right? Lord Kelvin is one of the famous scientists. He said, if you think strongly enough, you will be forced by science to believe in God, right? So we are not against science, just against atheistic scientists, right? So the fourth category of argument is we all see, right? Different demands and urges exist in this world. We have the urge, right? We have the urge to drink water because of thirst. The thirst creates the demand. And because of the demand, right, we all have this, get this thirst. Whenever we get thirst, right, we drink water. When we drink water, our thirst gets quenched, right? So for the urge of thirst, what is available in nature to fulfill that urge? Water, right? We all have tendency to become hungry. What is available to fulfill that urge of being hunger? Food available, right? So similarly, every propensity we have, every urge and demand we have in this world, there is always, nature provides an avenue to fulfill that urge. So if you look at people from all walks of life, all different civilization across the world, whether they're civilizationally advanced or not advanced, they all have propensity to worship. We all have the urge or propensity to worship something higher. Worship means adoring something, respecting something, right? We all have this desire to adore something or worship something is there. That means across the world, this urge is there for all people. That means there should be a common way to fulfill this urge of worshipping. How universally water is available to quench the thirst, how universally food is available to quench, to satisfy our hunger. Similarly, there should be a universal object of worship should be there to fulfill the urge of adoration and worship. Hence, there has to be God. Because in nature, for all the urges and demands, there is an avenue to fulfill that urge or demand. Because we all have this urge to worship or adore something higher, there has to be a common object available to fulfill this urge of worshipping universally. How water is available universally to quench thirst, similarly, there should be a universal object of worship should be there. When we worship that object, our urge should be fulfilled, right? So hence, there has to be God. So these are the logical arguments we had given for the existence of God, systematically and scientifically. Creation implies creator, law implies lawmaker, right? Order and design implies designer. And then for every avenue of urges, for every urges and demands, there is an avenue of fulfillment available, because we all have the urge to worship and adore something higher, right? There has to be an supreme object of worship. God has to be there. So these are the 4 categories of arguments we had presented systematically and scientifically. So this should help us to make, as a jury, help us to make a decision whether God exists or not, systematically, logically, based on evidence. If God exists, who is God? Right? That question might come. What is God? For that, we need to first define, right? God, right? Some interesting definitions in this world, right? Tears means, what is the definition? The hydraulic force by which female water power defeats male's willpower. If any of you are married in this group, right, you all can relate with what this means, you know. Lecturer, what is the definition? Successfully transfers from his notepad to student's notepad without staying in either one's head. Boss, always comes late when you are early, and late when you are, always comes late when you are early, right? And then when you are late, he comes early. Father means free banker. Favorite book, father's checkbook. So these are all funny definitions. We don't want that kind of school, means father pays, child plays. So we don't want to have this kind of a funny definition for God, you know. We want to have a serious definition, right? What do I mean when I say God, right? In this picture, if you see, there is a father who is very religious and he has a son, teenager son, right? This father likes to everyday chant on Mother Durga, hey ma, hey ma, hey ma. He also told the son, you every day you should sit with me and you should also chant. The son is also chanting, hey ma, hey ma, hey ma, right? The father is thinking of Durga Mata, the son is thinking of his girlfriend Hema. Both of them are chanting Hema, Hema, but the father is thinking of Durga and the son is thinking of the girlfriend, right? We don't want to end up in such a situation like this. When I say God, we all should have a precise definition. We all should be in the same page. We don't want to be end up like this father and son, finding out to do different things. When we say God, we should have a precise definition. That definition should help us to understand all of us in the same page, right? The first definition for God is that he should be the supreme source of everything. Everything in this world. If you open a tap, water comes. What is the source of that? What is the source of that water? Water comes from the city water tank. City water tank, where he gets the water comes from a river. Where the river gets the water, it comes from the mountain. Where, how the water came to the mountain, right? Through rains. How rain came from, the source of rain is water evaporating from the ocean with the help of sunlight. Like that, for everything in this world, we can define a source. If we keep on tracking the source for all the things in this world, ultimately water from the ocean, where did it come from? Right? Earth, where it come from? Where is minerals, where it come from? If you track down all the things in this world, all of them can be broken down into primordial elements. Ultimately, all these elements, where did it come from? Right? For all these things, there has to be a supreme source. The supreme source of everything the source from which everything else emanates, the source for which there is no other source, the source of everything, right? That's the first item in this definition. The second item, right, is, so here we are saying, right, the various examples: water, right, milk comes from cows, babies comes from, parents, right? Buildings are constructed by, builders, and again the raw ingredients of the building material comes from various manufacturers. Manufacturers get the ingredients from nature. Ultimately, who is the source of everything, right? So the source of everything, the supreme source of everything. Second is supreme proprietor, because he is the supreme source of everything. He should be owning it. If a builder builds the house, right, even though he is bringing the material and building it, ultimately he is not the proprietor. The proprietor is the owner of the house, because he had provided the means to get all these ingredients, because he is the source of all the ingredients to build the house. He is also the supreme. He should be the proprietor. Similarly, because he is the source of all the elements in nature, he should be the supreme proprietor of everything. Because he is the supreme proprietor of everything, how the house is constructed by the builder, but ultimately the proprietor is the one enjoying the house. Similarly, God is the supreme source of everything, and because he is the supreme source of everything, he is the supreme proprietor of everything, and because he is the supreme proprietor of everything, and he is the supreme enjoyer of everything. The fourth is, he is the supreme controller, right? As the house owner, right, I have the key to access the house. I have the remote control to control the temperature, right? I can turn on off the light. I can close the door, right? I can shut off the house, right? If I am the owner, I should also be established control over that property, right? So similarly, God is the supreme source of everything, supreme proprietor of everything, supreme enjoyer of everything, and he should be the supreme controller of everything as well. So this is the first definition. Spec. God is the supreme source of everything, proprietor of everything, enjoyer of everything, and controller of everything. The second definition is a very interesting definition, right? Right, in this picture we see, right, the richest man from India, right? Whenever a wealthy person, right, in Sanskrit it is called Dhanavan. Wealthy person is called as Dhanavan, right? A strong person, physically strong person, is called Balavan. A person who has a lot of knowledge, right, is called Vidwan. So from these definitions we can understand, Van means one who possesses. Balavan means one who possesses Bala. Vidwan means one who possesses knowledge, right? Dhanavan means one who possesses wealth. Gunavan means one who possesses qualities. So similarly, right, the word Bhagavan means the one who possesses Bhaga. The word Bhagavan, Dhanavan means one who possesses Dhana. Gunavan means one who possesses Guna. Vidwan means one who possesses Vidya, right? Like that, right? Balavan means one who possesses Bala. Bhagavan means one who possesses Bhaga. So this is the second definition we are coming up with. Bhaga or Bhagavan means one who possesses Bhaga. What is Bhaga? There are 6 opulences, right? Wealth, beauty, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation. So these things are considered to be Bhaga. Anyone who possesses these 6 opulences in complete, in full, he can be called as Bhagavan. One who possesses all wealth, all beauty, all strength, right? All wealth, all strength, all beauty, all knowledge, right? All fame, and all renunciation. Right? If anyone possesses these things in complete and full, he can be called as Bhagavan. Right? So this is the second definition. So this definition comes from Vishnu Purana. Aishvaryasya samagrasya Viryasya yashashraya Jnanam vairagyascha Vanam vairagyaschaiva Sannam Bhagam Itingana. What does it mean? Bhagavan means one who possesses these 6 opulences in full. All riches, all strength, all influence, all wisdom, all beauty, and all renunciation. Right? Bhagavan. So now the next question might come, right? Can you show God? Then I will believe it. Until I see God, I will not believe in the existence of God. Show me God, I will believe it. Still, some people might argue. Until otherwise, I can, perceive him through my senses. All the arguments you are giving, these are all great. But at the end of the day, can you show me God? Then only I will believe it. Right? For those people, our response is that in this world also we can't see everything. We perceive things. Through perception, we can understand the existence of various things. For example, if you see an electric fan connected to an outlet, right? When you can't see the electricity, right? But when the fan is connected to the electricity, you know the presence of electricity by its effect. The cause of the fan rotating is electricity. The effect of that electricity is fans rotating. Whenever you see a fan rotating, you don't have to see the presence of electricity. You can feel the presence of electricity through its effect, right? So you don't have to touch to feel the electricity, presence of electricity. Simply by its effect, we can understand. When you connect a light bulb or when you connect a fan, we know that electricity is existing. Even though we can't see it, perceive it through our senses, we know it is present through its effect, right? So similarly, when you see an arrow, right? When you see an arrow flying through the air, you know that behind that arrow, there is an archer. The cause of this arrow flying is that archer. Whenever you see arrow in the air moving, immediately you know that the cause, even though you don't see the archer, when you see an arrow going in the air, flying in the air, immediately you know that behind the arrow there's an archer. The effect is you are seeing the moving arrow. The cause is the archer, right? Even though we may not see the archer, behind that arrow, right, the cause is the archer, right? Similarly, when you see a puppet show, right, the puppets are moving and dancing, right? But behind these puppets, there is a puppeteer controlling the various strings and making the puppets move. The effect we see is the puppets dancing and moving. But the cause of the puppets moving and dancing is because of the presence of the puppeteer. Even though we may not see the puppeteer, we know that the puppets don't, dance or move without the puppeteer. So we can see, we can perceive, right? So when the puppet moves, we know that behind the puppets, there is a puppeteer, even though we may not see it. The cause of the puppet's movement is puppeteer, right? So similarly, right, even though we may not be able to perceive directly through our senses the existence of God, one can perceive God through its effect. So one time in a college, right, a professor who is an atheist, right? So in the first year of college, when the students came to the college in the first day of the class, right? He said, today I am going to reveal an important, discovery, right? Then he asked one person, right? He asked the entire classroom, how many of you believe in the existence of God? Some people raised their hand. And then one person, he asked him to stand up. My dear son, stand up. And then he stood up. So you believe in God? He said, yes, sir. And then he said, have you seen God? He said, the boy said, no. Have you touched God? He said, no. Have you smelled God? No. Have you tasted God? No. Have you heard from God? No. So, my dear son, according to the protocols of modern science, if you can't touch, feel, smell, taste, hear, it does not exist. Hence, according to the protocols of modern science, God does not exist. So then he asked another person, do you believe in God? Yes, yes. Right? And then he asked God, he asked that person, did God create everything? That boy said, yes. Does evil exist in this world? Yes. So because God created everything, according to your first statement, evil is existing in this world. Did God create evil? So that boy was dumbfounded. He couldn't answer. He said, I declare today, because evil exists in this world, and according to you, everything is created by God. And then you are saying that, evil does not come from God, hence there cannot be no God. Because evil exists, according to your definition, that God should be all compassionate, all loving person, all powerful, all compassionate, all knowing person. Hence there is no God. So at that time, so another person raised his hand, another student. He said, the professor said, yes, what do you want to say? And then that boy asked a question to the entire classroom. How many of you have seen the brain of the professor? And then nobody said yes. No, everybody said no. And then next question he asked, how many of you have touched the brain of the professor? Everybody said no. How many of you have tasted the brain of the professor? Everybody said no. How many of you heard from the brain of the professor? No. Instead, in the end, according to the protocols of modern science, our professor does not have brain. The professor got a shock. Then he asked the professor, sir, is there anything called heat? He said, yes. Is there anything called cold? He said, yes. He said, the boy immediately said, sir, no, there is nothing called cold. There is heat and lack of heat. And then the same boy asked the professor, sir, is there light in this world? Yes. Is there darkness in this world? Yes. He said immediately, sir, no, there is nothing called darkness. Darkness is nothing but light. Lack of light. So cold is nothing but lack of heat, right? Darkness is nothing but lack of light. Similarly, there is nothing called evil in this world, sir. Evil is nothing but lack of goodness. So hence your argument that, because evil exists in this world, God cannot be there. So there is nothing called evil, sir. Only nothing but lack of goodness. So when somebody perceives goodness everywhere, he becomes God conscious. So this argument this boy gave, and then the professor was, shocked and dumbfounded. So seeing is not everything, right? You don't have to believe in just because you can't see it, or you don't have to believe in because of just you see it or don't see it. Seeing could be deceiving, right? So one can understand the existence of God through cause and effect principle. Now, how to get knowledge about such a God, right? We can understand that, okay, we can understand behind all these causes, there is an effect, ultimate cause of all the causes, the supreme cause of everything is what God you are saying. Now, how do you get knowledge about God, right? In general, right, we can acquire knowledge through three means. The first way is called Pratyaksha Pramana. Pratyaksha Pramana means, Aksha means eyes. Like eyes, we have different knowledge acquiring senses. The nose, through eyes we see, through the nose we smell, through the tongue we taste, through the ears we hear, and through the skin we feel, right? So through these various knowledge acquiring senses, we get knowledge. This is called Pratyaksha Pramana. Knowledge through direct sense perception, right? The problem with the senses is that, right, we all have imperfect senses, right? When you see in a half filled cup of water, right, we put a straw, the straw looks bent because of refraction, right? But you see that the straw is bent. Is the straw bent? No. Seeing is not everything. Seeing is not believing, right? We cannot understand the absolute truth. That means God through our blunt material senses, because we all have this four faults. We all have imperfect senses. Because of the imperfect senses, we become illusioned, and because of the illusion, we commit mistake, and because of the mistakes, nobody wants to accept the mistake. Hence, they cheat to hide the mistakes. IICC, right? Imperfect senses, we commit illusion because of the imperfect senses. Because of the illusion, we commit mistakes. And then to hide the mistakes, we cheat. So all human beings, we are all born with these four defects. Hence, the knowledge we come up with through our Pratyaksha Pramana, through our sense perception, we can never get perfect knowledge. So we are over 15 minutes. Anyway, I'll try to come to conclude in another few minutes. Right? So the imperfect senses, the examples are given here, right? Our eyes are blind outside the range of visible spectrum of light. Our ears are deaf outside the range of this audible spectrum of sound, right? Orange after sugar tastes sour. Same orange after lemon tastes sweet, right? Water touched with warm hand appears cool, touched with cold hands appears warm. So I can understand that we have limited senses, right? Because of the limited senses, we come under illusion, and because of the illusion, we commit mistake, and then because of the mistakes, we cheat. For example, right? In science, brain was thought of as a cooling organ to cool the blood, right? And pituitary glands or master glands were considered to be useless tissue in the body, right? So like that, whatever we come up with science, we always later discover that that is, not accurate or incorrect, because our science predominantly depends on observation through our senses. Because the senses are imperfect, we come under illusion, commit mistakes, and cheat. Right? So there is few slides are here, right? Which illustrates this concept of illusion. In this example, right, you see a tree, right? A barren tree, but the tree is nothing but full of figures. The tree of freedom fighters. You see Mahatma Gandhi, right? Jawaharlal Nehru, right? And different personalities, Rabindranath Tagore, all this, Bhagat Singh, all the different personalities are there, right? Similarly, right, you see here the three circles where the three sectors are cut out, right? If we look at it, right, there's a triangle, but in fact, there is no triangle. It's an illusion, optical illusion. In this picture, you see a old man and old lady. Also in the same picture, you will see two people sitting there and playing a musical instrument and singing, right? So you see here in this picture, there is a old lady. This is the nose, right? There is a nose here. This is the mouth. This is the chin, right? This is her hair covering. The same picture, if you try to look at from different angle, right? This is the picture of a young lady. This is her eyes. This is her nose. This is her cheek. Now this is her hair, right? Like that. So these are all things which illustrates various illusory things, how our senses are imperfect. You see this, all these dots are moving. Actually, in fact, nothing is moving, right? Everything is stationary, but it's an illusion. Similarly, right? All these things are rotating, all these figures are rotating. No, they are not rotating. They are all actually stationary. It's an illusion. So like that, if you see this figure, if you become close towards the black dot, go back, the circles will be rotating in opposite direction, right? So this is another illusion. See here, bunch of soldiers here, right? All of them looks different height, right? But in fact, they are not, right? They are all of same height. But it is an optical illusion. So like that, there are so many things we can, demonstrate the illusion. The next way of getting knowledge is through Anumana Praman. Sorry, I'm going to go a little more, 5 more minutes to wrap this up. The 3 ways of getting knowledge about God. Sorry, we are going a little over because we had a lot of examples and other things. The second way of getting knowledge is Anumana Praman, through guesswork. When we get knowledge through our senses, right? All those knowledge we get through our senses is, collected through our mind, and our mind comes up with speculation, right? Anumana Praman. Maybe it is like this, maybe it is like that, right? Guesswork. The story of 6 blind men, right? When the blind men were asked to touch an elephant and describe what they see, each one of them touched the elephant and described in a different way. The person who touched the leg of elephant, he said, this is like a big tree trunk. The elephant is like a big tree trunk. When he touched the stomach or the belly of the elephant, he said it's like a brick wall. When he touched one person touched the tusk, he described elephant is like a arrow, right? And then when he touched one person touched the ears, he said it is like a spear. The person who touched the trunk, right? He said it's like a huge python or snake. The person who touched the tail, it's like a huge rope. All of them are describing the elephants in their own way. In their own way, they are all correct. But are they all correct? No, they are correct only in their own perception. In the bigger scheme of reality, none of them is correct, right? Similarly, whatever the guess we can come up with in this world, they are all actually relative truths. We can never figure out the absolute truths, right? The third way of getting knowledge is Shabda Pramana, testimony from an authority, or when we inquire from a perfect body of knowledge, we can get perfect knowledge. This is the third way of getting knowledge, Shabda Pramana, right? If you wanted to know about mathematics, you need to inquire from a mathematics professor. If you want to know about physics, you need to inquire from a physics professor. Similarly, if you want to get knowledge about God, what is the perfect body of knowledge? Where does it exist? Right? That's what we are going to cover next week. What is the Shabda Praman? How to get perfect knowledge about God. Through Pratyaksha and Anumana, we cannot get perfect knowledge about God. Only through Shabda Praman, we can get perfect knowledge. Is there a perfect body of knowledge exist which can give knowledge about God? That's what we will see next week, because we couldn't complete this week this topic. The remaining things we will continue next week about Shabda Praman. I'll stop here. Any comments, any questions at this time? If not, we'll conclude here. We'll continue next week. So, any reflections, comments, questions? So, if not, we'll end here. Thank you very much. So, I will also share the slides and recording in the WhatsApp group. So, I'm not sure, like we had a little less attendance today. I'm not sure because, is it because of the timing they did not know, or I'm not sure. So anyway, I will send out the recording in the group, WhatsApp group. I will also send a small poll. We'll try to understand why we got a low attendance today. And then we'll go from there next week. We'll continue from where we left this week. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Wonderful
Prabhuji.
class. Wonderful class, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.